Alright everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the new anniversary ship, the Bajoran Interceptor. As you can see here, we're in front of DS9, kind of taking a look at this ship. I think it's really pretty, to be honest. I think it has a nice design. I kind of like those wings. It feels like a fighter, you know? It feels like something I wish kind of had pilot maneuvering. I think it would be really fun to kind of double tap with this thing and see it bouncing around. But still, overall, I think it's a really nice looking ship. Well, we're going to take a look here at the actual layout and see what it's all about. So, we'll see here, it's got 5 forward weapons, 2 aft weapons. It's got an experimental weapon slot, 2 devices. Console-wise, we have 3 engineering, 4 science, and 4 tactical, which, you know, pretty nice there. I think that's a nice balance. We're going to take a look at the mastery. We're going to get +5 accuracy, +5 defense, +10% to kinetic and energy damage, and then 2.5 critical chance. Take a look here at harrying maneuvers, the Starship Trait. Emergency power to engines or pilot abilities grant accuracy, penetration, and subsystem offline proc. Once per 20 seconds for 6 seconds, +50 accuracy rating, +10% weapon armor pen, +10% weapon shield pen. Once per second, 20% chance of one random subsystem offline for 7 seconds. So, an interesting trait. Obviously the weapon armor pen and the weapon shield pen is nice. The accuracy rating, I don't necessarily see the need for something like that in PvE. Accuracy is not really big there. Accuracy overflow, I have been told, is actually working correctly, but still not necessarily something I feel like is something you'd put over other traits. If you are kind of limited in your options and are going for something more free-to-play or budget, it's not bad. I think it's something that will help. You know, I'm not big into PvP. I don't do it a lot, so I can't really talk tactic-wise over there. But, I could see this being something that's more PvP friendly with the accuracy, the subsystem offline. The armor and shield pen are nice for both. And it's kind of based off emergency power to engines and pilot abilities, which is obviously something based on a lot of speed. So, I could see it being a PvP trait, not too special for PvE. So we'll take a look here actually at the experimental weapon, because I think this is the second available kind of free weapon. I know we have the one from the Dilithium store that everyone can get, or that just comes on any basic ship that has it if it doesn't have a specialty one. But this one, I think, is our first kind of special one that's free. I know there is one from the competitive rep, but obviously, the dilithium and grinding for the marks there. So this is the Voice of the Prophets. I have it upgraded here to Mark 14 Ultra Rare, which means it got the Crit X mod, which is +2% crit chance and +10 severity. This is actually dealing physical damage, which most of the other ones that I've seen are kinetic, so this is interesting. To primary target, 10,255 physical damage. To 3 additional foes within 2 kilometers of primary target, 5,000 physical damage. So, in the one run that you just saw there, I got about 11k out of this bad boy, so that's not bad. I haven't played around with too many different experimental weapons. I have used the one, the Warhead module one. I use it on some of my Torpedo ones because I have it on that character, and I've seen 6, 7 kind of K out of it. Out of the regular experimental weapon, maybe 4 or 5. So I do think this one's giving some really good numbers. So I like the fact that it's on a ship that's going to be available to anybody who completes this anniversary. We're going to take a look at the stations here. As you'll see here, so first we have a lieutenant pilot, universal. Then we have a commander tactical, a lieutenant commander tactical pilot, an ensign engineering, and a lieutenant commander science. So the only one place this kind of hurts is your engineering. Now, with every kind of ship or something, there's always something, oh, I wish I could change this, if I could change this. The one thing I think I would truly change on this, if I had, if they gave you that one, okay, pick one thing and we'll change it for you. I think I would turn that science into a lieutenant and turn that pilot universal into a lieutenant commander. What that would give me the option to do is run a copy of Emergency Powered Weapons 3 instead of 1. Or you could choose, I'm running an Ox to Bat build, you could choose to keep Emergency Powered Weapons 1 and Engines 1 and put your double copies of Ox to Bat. So, the only place I think it's kind of limited there is its engineering seating, but it does have really nice tactical seating if you want to go double copies of things. I mean, that kind of makes up for the fact that you can't really go with the Ox to Bat build fully there. I do have the one copy, and it does have pilot seating, so I do have my pilot ability, so I can keep Cold-Hearted going, which is nice. I chose Attack Pattern Lambda. You could use Pilot Team. Fly Her apart probably would have been nice, but this was kind of my first run through with this ship, so I didn't know how it felt yet. I didn't want to go with that ability. The Lieutenant Commander Science is nice, though. I mean, you could put a Gravity Well on there. I chose Subspace Vortex 3. There are options here between Tactical and Science, so it does give you some versatility. Now, as far as overall versatility about this ship, I think a few different builds work here. I think it makes a really good beam kind of boat like this with your one torp. I think it will make a pretty good torp boat on its own. It doesn't have the command seating, but I think it will be similar to what we did with the Breen Raider. And actually, after we kind of talk about these, I'm actually going to throw in two other runs. One where I do a torp, and then one where I do a more budget, somewhat, I don't want to call it free, because there probably will be a few items that you might need to grind for, maybe a couple of pieces of rep, something like that, but more of a budget, kind of easy to work toward kind of build. Since it is a free ship, I like to kind of put something out there like that on it. So overall, it's a free ship, so I always recommend getting the free ships, but this one, is definitely a must-have. And one of the biggest reasons is, and this is going to be the last thing here that we go over, we save the best for last, is the universal console it comes with, Domino. Now, this is a true universal console. It can be put onto any ship. This console reminds me of Timeline Stabilizer for two reasons. It has a few of the abilities and kind of things that Timeline Stabilizer gave us, and it's also off of an anniversary ship like Timeline. Timeline Stabilizer was 2 years ago in the anniversary of the Krenim Science ship, and then that set bonus went in with the Tier 6 Odysseys. Last year's was the Lucari ship and the Lucari console, which was a boost to shield healing, I think, things like that. It was a nice little defensive console, and that worked well with the Vesta, and worked really well with the Vesta console, if you ever saw what I did with the drain there. But so it's going to be interesting to see what ships link up with this Domino console. What's the next pack of 3 variant kind of ships that are going to link up here? So, but overall, let's take a look at it. So the passive is plus 15 phaser damage, which if you're running a phaser build, that's awesome. You can mix it in. Well, I don't want to say awesome. It's nice. Mix it in with the Quantum Phase console to boost your phaser damage. It's going to give you plus 20% accuracy. Again, not something that's really going to help out in a big way, But the actual activatable ability, here's what it's going to do. Plus weapon damage and haste, extended by kills for 10 seconds. You're going to get plus 25% fire cycle haste for energy weapons. Plus 25% bonus all damage, bonus, meaning Cat 2. Plus 25% recharge speed for bridge officer abilities. Plus 100% recharge speed for torpedo weapons. If you defeat a foe, plus 2-second duration to all effects. May only occur 10 times. Only occur 10 times. You can get this thing to last 30 seconds. Are you going to get it to last 30 seconds a lot? I don't see it. I mean, you have to defeat it. Obviously, you are defeating foes in a good amount of time. I think I'm going to hit this right now. I have to test it, but right now I see hitting this at the same time as I hit Dynamic, as I'm going into the last set of spheres and the gateway in the Tactic Cube and I say. So if you hit it and those spheres start dropping, I could see the duration getting extended and that being really nice. So this console, I see like dynamic. I see like what Timeline was. Timeline's still a good console. I see it on builds. I just have kind of moved away from it. But I see it as the dynamic. This is a console that's going to go on any kind of build. I'd put it on a torp boat, absolutely. On a beam boat like this, absolutely. I could see it on a science build because of that plus 25% Cat 2 bonus to all damage, so that includes exotic, the recharge speed for bridge officer abilities. A lot of those science builds use torpedoes like the gravimetric and the PEP and the fire cycle haste. Again, most of those science builds, like what me and what Proteus has mastered and I kind of do sometimes with certain builds and other people, the energy weapons are more for their procs, but the more they're firing off, the better. So right now I see this as something that's going to go on all my builds without question. So another reason why, absolutely get out there, get this ship. It looks cool, it's fun, and it's free. So if you guys want to see the torp variant and the kind of budget there, stay tuned. Those are coming up next. Basically, we're just going to go over this budget build here, actually. Going over the numbers, it looks like I'd say this is a 40-day kind of grind to get to. Now, the reason I say that, the biggest thing is obviously finishing your reputation, which on a brand new character, if you don't have the sponsorship token to get the double, it's going to take 40 days to complete. Now, we'll take a look at the build. We only have, I believe it's 3 pieces of rep gear, and they're only from tier 1 and 2. And as we'll see for trait-wise, we're only using 4 of the space rep ones because the 5th for space rep and Starship Trait is bought from the research lab. So we only went with the 4 that you're going to get. And these are actually from tier 2 also. So the only real thing that you're getting from going to tier 5 and all of them, you'll get the active rep, which would be the deploy sensor, the refracting tetryon cascade, quantum singularity manipulation, and the biomolecular shield generator. If you have the 5th one, which this is another thing you could buy the 5th spot of, we could get the anti-timeline entanglement. Now, I decided to just go with the 4, and I left that one out. These aren't something that's going to be a huge difference. Deploy sensor and the shield bubble will help you defensively. The quantum singularity will give you a little bit of boost because it's going to give you a little bit of a cloak, and it's going to give you plus 100 to science stats for 8 seconds. And then refracting tetryon cascade, if you hit it in a good spot where you're going to target multiple spheres and things, it will get you a couple K. So these are not big things. You don't have to wait that entire time. The other reason, though, I kind of decided on a 40-day thing was, for trait-wise, we went with free traits. We went with the ship trait from this, harrying maneuvers, which we went over. Then we have unconventional tactics. This is for filling out strategist, which only has 15 spec points. Then we have improved nonlinear progression, which is temporal operative because that's what we're using as our primary and strategist secondary. And then improved pedal to the metal because I think this is a really good one for damage for kind of a free boat. Now I think if you are playing, and to be honest here, I'd say about an hour a day for those 40 or so days. You know, if you're playing and you come on and you just do your duty officer assignments and your admiralty, and then also the daily endeavor, because recently the daily endeavors are giving you a quarter spec point or 2 quarter spec points. If you do these things, which probably take you 10 to 15 minutes to get done, and then play for half hour, 45 minutes to an hour after that, I really think within that time you'll be able to get these 3 specializations filled out to that point, where at least you'll get the base one, you know, because you don't have to fill them all out to get the first ones, as we'll take a look here. This one, obviously, it's a short one, but if we look at temporal operative, it's here that we're going to get nonlinear progression, which is unlocks after choosing 15 abilities from the specialization. So it's not like you actually have to fill them totally out. If you were to fill up space in the first tier, the full second, and then space in the third, you would get it. So I really think that's something that's very obtainable within that time. We'll go over the build here. We're using the Terran, and this is purely just because, I mean, this is the hardest hitting beam in the game, so I always recommend people to get it. We are using a phaser build, but some of the consoles kind of together boost Disruptor as well. So we're using the Terran, then we're using the Quantum Phase set. This is a mission reward gear. The torp, the beam, and we have the console down here. Then we have just 2 crafted phasers. In the back we have an Omni and the kinetic cutting beam. For space set, we're using the Quantum Phase space set, the 3-piece here, that's mission reward. The warp core is the Bajoran defense hyper injector warp core, which is from this ship. You'll see the experimental weapon also from this ship. It's Mark 14 ultra rare, but that's really not going to make a huge difference. You'll see down here, you'll see we only have 2 gold things here. One is the universal console it comes with, so that's going to be gold for everybody. The other is the tactical command multi-conduit. This is a mission reward gear. I had it upgraded already, so That's the thing. To be honest, though, it is obviously an increase to those damage, but if you're gonna look at the parts, I highly doubt it's giving me anything more than a few K. You know what I mean? So the rest of it is just here are your regular phaser relays. We have the quantum phase set, like we talked about. The butterfly console. This is mission reward. We have a Drainx field exciter, which costs about 2 mil. We have the assimilated module, which is the two-piece with the kinetic cutting beam. We have the hydrodynamic compensator, which is the two-piece with this, which is giving us a Cat 2 bonus to phaser and disruptor. And this console also gives us phaser disruptor damage, so again, we are getting some boost to the Terran. And then we have an EPS flow regulator. Now, if you don't want to use the crafting system to make the regulator and the relays, even the exciter and the beams, I priced it out that right now this build, if you didn't want to do the crafting, if we're going to pay for it, for the rep gear, it's going to be about 45,000 dilithium, which again, like I said, this is a 30 to 40 day kind of grind anyway. Within that time, you'll be able to get that 45k dill pretty easily, and about 10 mil EC, which again, if you're doing the Endeavors and the Admiralty and just kind of selling your loots and all that stuff around that time, that really shouldn't be something that's too hard to obtain. If anybody has questions about different ways to kind of make EC and stuff, you could leave a comment below. Maybe eventually we'll put out something talking about the different ways to kind of grind for energy credits and dilithium and that stuff. So, as we said, for skill-wise, we're using Temporal Operative Primary, Strategist Secondary. Traits up here, we're only using traits that are from, the only one here, this is Beam Barrage. In that 40-day period, if the only one thing you're going to do R&D-wise, I would suggest you get your beams up to level 15. Another thing you'll get from getting it to level 10 is to be able to make these energy amplifiers, which we're using. 20% bonus energy damage, Cat 2, for 20 seconds. So that's really nice. And then you'll get Beam Barrage as a trait. Point Blank Shot, which is a mission reward pickup. Innocuous, Operative, Beam Training, Projectile Training, all this stuff that's free. Starship Traits, like we said, non-linear progression, which is from Temporal, Pedal to the Metal Pilot. Harrying Maneuvers, again, the trait from the ship. Whenever you use emergency power engines, which we have, and a pilot ability, you'll gain the Armor Pen, Shield Pen, and Accuracy. And then Unconventional Tactics, which is from Strategist. 15% Cat 2 bonus when hitting Brace for Impact. So that's nice. For Space Rep, these are all the Tier 2 ones. Nicara Offense, Offensive Bonus, Cat 2, 4.8 that is, based on auxiliary power. Then our Crit Severity, our Crit Chance, and Energy Refrequencer to help with defense. And then we showed the active reps that we chose. And then stations here, just what we're using. We're using Emergency Powder Engines 1, Emergency Powder Weapons 1, Reverse Shield Polarity, pretty much your setup here, Omega, Fire Wheel 3, Beta Attack Team, dual copies of Tactical Team, Pilot Team 1, and then Torpedo Spread for our Quantum Phase, Gravity Well, Science Team, and Hazard Emitters. Now the only duty officer I am running is one that you can get out of the Phoenix pack, and that is one I highly recommend. It's really, if you open 2 or 3, you will get the rarity token that you need to get him. It's really one I really try to strive that people should get. It's awesome. So that's why it's the only one I did put on there. It really does help out. Other than that, no more duty officers. So, this is basically it. So, by no means, I'm not trying to say this is a free build, but it's definitely something that's obtainable, in a fairly short period of time. I think the biggest thing is the amount of spec points to fill out these 3, at least to the base of getting those traits, the regular versions, and it's definitely a build that will do some good numbers. Alright guys, thanks.